The Colorado River is far more than a waterway. It's the heartbeat of the American West, shaping landscapes and sustaining the people who rely on it. Stretching over 1,400 miles, it threads its way through rugged mountains, deep canyons, and vast deserts, linking distant towns and diverse habitats. Over millions of years, the river has sculpted marvels like the Grand Canyon, transforming barren deserts into vibrant oases and creating some of the planet's most awe-inspiring scenery through sheer persistence and force. Today, the Colorado River quenches the thirst of nearly 40 million people, from the Rockies all the way to Mexico, and irrigates countless acres of farmland that help feed the country. Major cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles owe their existence and growth to this river. Without its waters, these urban centers would look nothing like they do now. Much of the produce we enjoy, lettuce, melons, and more, begins its journey with water from the Colorado, nourishing families nationwide. The river also powers enormous dams, producing clean energy that lights up homes, schools, and businesses, and keeps industries running. Adventurers raft its rapids, anglers cast lines into its currents, and hikers explore its banks, finding excitement, tranquility, and inspiration along its winding path. For millions, the river is both a playground and a refuge. The Colorado is a magnet for energy, exploration, and natural wonder, drawing visitors from across the globe to witness its beauty firsthand. The river's well-being is tied to our own. Its fate is our fate. Every drop is precious, and any shift in its flow sends ripples through our lives. For generations, we've engineered and depended on the river, building dams and canals, trusting it would always provide. But nature doesn't always follow our plans, and the river's story is still unfolding. Then, on June 12, 2025, the Colorado River delivered a shock that left even top scientists reeling, an event that upended everything we thought we understood. Overnight, the river's steady flow faltered, water levels plunged, and the once predictable current became erratic in ways no one had foreseen. The river's familiar patterns vanished, replaced by uncertainty. Generations of knowledge were suddenly in question, leaving experts scrambling for explanations. The Southwest's lifeline was in crisis, an unexpected threat to the river and to the way of life it sustains. Now, the pressing question: what happened to the river we thought we knew? How could something so essential, so enduring, change so dramatically and so fast? And what does this mean for all of us? The destiny of the Colorado River is the destiny of the West, and the decisions we make today will echo for generations. The Colorado River's decline was a slow story, until it wasn't. We expected drought, climate change, and shrinking reservoirs, but in spring 2025, scientists noticed something no one predicted. The river's water turned startlingly clear. The Colorado, famous for its reddish-brown sediment, was suddenly losing its color. The sediment, the river's lifeblood, had vanished almost overnight. At first, scientists thought it was a sensor error, but the change was real and it was massive. All the models said sediment loss should be slow, tied to dams or erosion. This was different, a shock to the system. The river's chemistry had shifted in weeks, not centuries. The Colorado was sending a signal something fundamental had changed. No one knew why. The river's transformation was as baffling as waking up to a green sky. The great puzzle of the American West had just gotten deeper. The river's future, and ours, was suddenly uncertain. The search for answers had begun. Dr. Eris Thorne stood at Lee's Ferry, Arizona, a place he had come to know as intimately as his own backyard. The river's gentle rush and the whisper of wind through the canyons were as familiar to him as the lines on his hands. Today, though, he stared in disbelief at a jar of nearly transparent river water, swirling it gently and watching the light dance through it. For 20 years, he'd studied this river. He knew its moods, its color, its soul. He had witnessed its floods and droughts, its muddy surges and tranquil flows. Now, he could see the riverbed pebbles with an unnatural clarity, as if a veil had been lifted from the water's surface. This wasn't the Colorado he knew. The river looked almost alien, stripped of its usual earthy hue. He ruled out new dams, landslides, and every logical explanation he could think of, scribbling notes and crossing out theories in frustration. The data from monitoring stations confirmed it. The river's turbidity had plummeted to record lows, a change that defied seasonal patterns. The sediment, vital for building sandbars and nourishing plants and fish, was gone. The riverbanks looked bare, exposed, and vulnerable. The ecosystem's balance was at risk. Fish struggled in the altered currents, and plants along the banks began to wilt without the nutrients they relied on. Dr. Thorne felt the urgency. Millions depended on this river for drinking water, irrigation, and life itself. In his field lab, the numbers told the same story. The river had changed, and no one knew why. Every test result deepened the mystery. The Colorado was sick, and the diagnosis was a mystery. The water's clarity was a warning, not a blessing. As the sun set, the river's haunting beauty was a reminder of what was at stake. The golden light shimmered on the surface, masking the crisis beneath. The clock was ticking for answers. Every passing day increased the risk to the river and all who depended on it. The health of cities, farms, and wildlife hung in the balance. The Colorado's fate would ripple far beyond its banks. Dr. Thorne and his colleagues faced the challenge of their careers. They gathered, determined to solve the puzzle before it was too late. The river's transformation demanded a solution. Fast. The world was watching, waiting for answers, and hoping for a breakthrough. Would science find the answer in time? The dawn of a new day brought hope, but also a reminder. The river's future depended on what they discovered next. In California's Imperial Valley, Maria Sanchez walked her alfalfa fields, her boots crunching on the brittle earth, troubled by what she saw. For generations, her family had depended on the Colorado River, its water rich with silt and nutrients that once brought life and abundance to their soil, sustaining their crops and their way of life. But now, the water in her ditches ran clear, almost sparkling, yet it was a troubling sight. Her crops were suffering, and the land seemed to thirst for something more. Leaves turned pale, the once lush alfalfa wilted, and every harvest brought smaller yields. Fertilizer costs soared as Maria tried to replace what the river no longer provided. The river's natural gift, the nourishing silt, was gone, replaced by a deep sense of uncertainty that settled over the fields like a shadow. The problem wasn't just about having enough water anymore. It was about the quality of that water and what it could no longer give. The clear water, once a sign of purity, was now almost sterile, stripped of the nutrients that had fed generations of crops. At the dinner table, Maria's family felt the impact in every meal. Rising costs and fading fields meant tighter budgets and growing worry. The river, once a silent partner in their success, now seemed distant, its flow diminished and its promise uncertain. Maria wondered how she could plan for a future built on shifting ground, where every season brought new questions and fewer answers. The foundation of her family's legacy, built over decades, suddenly felt unstable, as if the very ground beneath them was changing. Still, Maria looked west each evening, searching the horizon for hope, wishing for the river's return to health and abundance. The fate of her farm, and the future of many others along the river, now depended on a mystery that no one seemed able to solve. For Maria, the river's change was deeply personal, and the stakes for her family, her land, and her community were higher than ever before. In Phoenix, the Miller family's water flowed as always, until it didn't. At the city's water plant, engineers faced a new problem. The river's clear water triggered massive algae blooms. Treating the water became harder and more expensive. Without sediment, pipes clogged with biofilms and minerals, risking contamination. The city's infrastructure, built for a different river, was under strain. Water bills began to rise, and the taste of tap water changed. The distant troubles of the Colorado River were now at the Millers' doorstep. The city's lifeline was more fragile than anyone realized. The problem was no longer abstract. It was in every glass of water. The invisible system was showing its cracks. The city's future depended on solving a crisis no one expected. The river's change was reaching every home. The river's transformation sent shockwaves through its delicate and intricate ecosystem. The humpback chub, a rare and ancient fish, lost its murky nursery, now exposed to lurking predators in the clear water. Sandbars eroded, eggs vanished, and young fish struggled desperately to survive in the changing environment. Cottonwood and willow trees, once nourished by rich silt, failed to sprout new seedlings along the banks. Riverbanks grew sterile, habitats shrank, and precious shade disappeared from the landscape. Eagles, ospreys, and beavers all felt the loss, their lives forever altered by the changes. The entire web of life along the river began to unravel, thread by thread. The ecosystem, finely tuned over millennia, was now falling dangerously out of balance. The loss of sediment was breaking the natural machine in ways both expected and truly shocking. The river's sudden clarity was a warning. Every part of the system is deeply connected. When one piece fails, the consequences ripple outward, touching every living thing. Scientists mobilized fast, forming a rapid response task force, ready to tackle the unfolding mystery. Geologists, hydrologists, and biologists launched a massive, coordinated investigation into the river's strange behavior. Satellites scanned the entire river basin for changes. Drones collected real-time data from above. Dr. Thorne and his team worked around the clock, testing wild theories and sharing ideas late into the night. Was a geological event filtering sediment underground, hidden from plain sight? Was a new microbe at work, altering the river's chemistry? The data pointed to a network of porous volcanic rock beneath the riverbed, activated by minor seismic tremors. The river's sediment was being filtered out below, vanishing into an underground labyrinth of rock and water. It was a wild idea, but it fit the facts and explained the mystery. The next step: prove the theory with drilling and exploration in remote, rugged terrain. The race for answers was truly on. The fate of the river and millions of lives hung in the balance, waiting for a solution. The Colorado River's crisis is immense, a geological shift we can't fix with dams or deals. But the challenge has sparked innovation and unity. Engineers are designing ways to reintroduce safe sediment, restoring the river's health. Scientists are developing crops that need less water and nutrients. The crisis has made the river's health personal for everyone, from farmers to city dwellers. Communities are coming together, committed to conservation and smarter water use. The river's future won't be a return to the past. We must adapt. Hope lies in our science, our ingenuity, and our shared will to act. By working together and respecting the river's power, we can ensure its legacy endures. The current of the river has changed, but so has our resolve. The Colorado River remains a river of life if we rise to meet the challenge. Our future depends on it. The current of hope flows stronger than ever,